is Upstairs to the Right Music channel. Thank you so much for joining us on this fine Sunday for a little bit of Sunday at Mike's, another episode we're doing here. Thank you so much for taking the time to really tune in. I do appreciate it so much. Um, just a little housekeeping as usual. We have a regular program, of course, we do every week on this channel as well. Last week's one was a little bit of a disaster. I'll get into that in a minute, but also, of course, our live stream every Sunday at 11 p.m. And I want to thank each and every one of you for taking the time to watch the regular program that we have because I need your help, man. Last week's program was going to be, hey, Ben. Howdy, sir. I was getting into how I didn't do a show last week, a regular program, because when I started filming the part that I was going to do, disaster struck. I was going to use my vintage EP3 and plug it into the effects loop on my Laney amp and show how that vintage EP3 gives you that FET lift and how it sounds, and what the big deal is about that going through a pair of through a vintage, not a pair of, but going through a vintage Celestion speaker. Well, when I was setting it up, I unfortunately plugged. It's an American. What do you call that plug? On my vintage EP3. I got it in the States. So I have a row of plugs that I had to transfer into the next room in order to shoot that, and I just went into a 220 socket with a 110 plug. And I kicked it on, it buzzed. I'm pretty sure the issue with it is not a major thing. I don't think it completely blew up. I don't want to give the feeling that I completely destroyed it. I didn't, but came pretty close. And you turned it on, and I turned it off real quick, and so probably a fuse, probably blew the fuse. I don't have, of course, being what it is, I don't have that kind of fuse. So it is going to require me taking it and putting it into a repair shop. Fern was kind of the luthier that we have on this channel often as a visitor. He suggested to me a amp buddy of his who's obviously, according to Fern, one of the guys to go to for this, so that kind of worked out in that regard. So at the very least, I found a tech for it inadvertently. I didn't have to dig too much. I'm glad that happened here as opposed to in Asia, because getting a vintage EP3 serviced in Asia is difficult. They have a bit of experience here with them, obviously, more in the UK and the States. But I feel confident that it probably will get itself sorted out here. But after that, I said, you know what? Obviously, your head's not in the right place, because I very, very, very rarely make that kind of. As a matter of fact, I can't think of the last time I made that kind of mistake. So I said, you're obviously sleeping this week. So I concentrated on shooting YouTube Shorts, which is going to be the first little part of what I want to talk about tonight with YouTube algorithms. Now, there are a lot of creators in the music industry context, regardless of whether they're producers or doing reviews of guitars, effects, basses, drums, etc., etc. Morocco's. They are seeing a decline in their viewer numbers and a decline in the speed that they're getting people to join into their channels, their new subscribers. There's a plateauing on YouTube as been described by Three Chord Dave, which I like his channel a lot. I was listening to him today, and he was talking about this issue and how he's going to start scaling back some of the content on his channel, try to get back to his roots and try to recapture some of that energy that he feels that he lost within the last 6 months or so. My take on it is a little bit different. You know, I believe that YouTube right now, it's been well pointed out, is in the mood to get the YouTube Shorts going. And I think that when you have a situation where YouTube wants something, they are going to promote and put everything behind that, and everything else is going to fall to the side. And so as a creator, I'm aware that YouTube has made it quite clear that they are interested in producing more shorts materials for their platform from its creators, and they're expecting all of us creators to basically to feed that monster. Now, actually, honestly, I don't have a problem with that. If you notice, like I said, instead of the regular program this week, I did 2 YouTube shorts. The first one describing my disaster with my EP3, and the second one being just a short on the difference between instrument and speaker cables. That's a really quick thing, and I thought that was really helpful. And a lot of creators are saying, well, this is just another thing on my plate on top of the regular content that I have to do in order to keep up with the desires of the platform. For me, it's actually kind of interesting. I like the challenge of it. How can I come up with something entertaining or educational? Because those things aren't always synonymous with each other. That can be done within 15 seconds. And so you'll be seeing a lot more shorts coming out of this channel. If you have any ideas for shorts, actually, Ben, it was your original question way back when regarding instrument cable and speaker cables that inspired that short that I did today, just to help other people out. So there's one we got from Ben. Thank you, Ben. If you guys have any other ideas of subjects for shorts, I have a lot of them. And so I'm going to be putting those into my weekly, I guess, rotation. So maybe 2 shorts and one 10-15 minute feature on the regular channels. Try to keep it, because honestly, if you go past 15 minutes, you're really going to lose. You'll get a huge drop off after the first 8. So I try to keep it in the sweet spot between 8 to 15 minutes, I guess. So I'll do that, as well as start doing these creative shorts, covering as quickly as I can as many interesting topics as possible. You're more than welcome. I'll try to come up with some others. Yeah, Ben, that one was gold. I put that one up, and now this will show you what I mean about the YouTube algorithm. And when they put their energy behind it, it goes. I did that, and within an hour of putting up, it was over 500 views. So that's within an hour, and I've never had that on anything that I've put up. With the exception, you get those rare ones. I got a one with the fern that we did that's reaching 107,000 viewers on that thing. Over 100,000 views. So you get a couple of, I have a few 50s, but no, nothing goes fast like that. And that just let me know that YouTube really, really wants to do the short thing, which I'm groovy with. I have no problem with that. As a matter of fact, again, like I said, I see it as a little bit of a challenge to come up with different things that I can squeeze within a 15-second parameter to discuss. That's interesting to me. But I can understand how that would be the Fern videos are my favorite. Yeah, and drew a lot of people in. And I told Fern too a few weeks ago how well that one was doing, and he was shocked. He was absolutely shocked. Um, I said, well, it wasn't because of me. It's obviously you, Fern. Because I don't get those views normally. He said, no, maybe it's a combined effort. So he's a good man. But yeah, I can understand how a lot of creators would not want to have that on their plate, but I find it interesting. So you guys can expect that. There'll be a lot of shorts. I mean, heck, if that. But the thing is, here's the deal with shorts. Sure, they could bring traction to your channel, and sure, it is what YouTube wants you to do right now. But shorts don't count towards any kind of monet. You can't monetize shorts. That's A, and B. You get no view time added to your watch time. You know, when they send you your stats. So they're asking you to do it out of the goodness of your heart. Is essentially what it comes down to. Because as a creator, there is, other than the possibility of bringing more eyes and traction to your channel, this is I guess the coins that have to be laid on the eyes. No, that's too dark. This is the tariff. No, that's too legalistic. This is what you got to do in order to do business if you want to do business with YouTube. So, but listening to Three Chord Dave and his discussion about how he felt his channel was actually starting to have a decline in viewers. And he's a heck of an engaging guy. I mean, he's very, smart guy, another smart guy, and very engaging. And so it is something as a creator that I listened to him talk about, that I already had formulated my own plan. I read the tea leaves. I saw where things were going. So I just decided to start thinking about producing things in that direction. All right. So I don't know if you saw the title of tonight's show, but the title of tonight's show is rock and roll. No, I'm sorry. Rock and roll is like the Emperor in Star Wars, old, wrinkled, and hard to kill. And as you guys know, I'm a Star Wars fan, so I'm going to drop, I owe everybody watching $1. Every time I mention something Star Wars, my friends put $1 in the jar. But I thought it was an apt way of describing what I've been looking at this week for a topic. I want to keep it interesting for you guys. And I'm going to say something that I never thought that would come out of my mouth. And this is not a put down of the person I'm about to mention. It's just I never connected this artist that way. And that's the savior, the modern savior of rock and roll out of the underground, out of the Jeff Beck's album is doing extremely well. Yeah, we're going to get into that. The concept behind this week is to talk about how Miley Cyrus, with her 2020 album, Plastic Hearts, which became a #1. And so again, we're not talking about underground, we're talking about mainstream, we're talking about commercial music. That was a #1 album. And in my opinion, that was doing a little research and looking at that period of time, 2020, that was a turning point, an inflection point where the needle for rock music versus rap or country, rock music was pretty, dead. Not dead in the sense of the artisticness, the artistic value that you got from different acts, but on a commercial scale, it just wasn't being featured. Guitars were hardly being featured in a lot of music. Prior to the late 2019, 2020, from what I'm seeing, that pendulum started to change. And then when the Koof hit, And the lockdowns occurred, and then we got that huge surge of people interested in buying guitars and basses and learning how to play instruments. That needle really went back to where I think that rock going forward is going to be dominant. I think it's going to be dominant in the charts again. Uh, Now, why do I say Marley Cyrus and the Plastic Hearts album? Because it was a number one album. And in fact, it was a true. There have been albums on the Billboard Top 10 that in the rock section that I would be hard pressed to call rock albums. From a sonic standpoint, wow, not really. And there's been other channels who have gone through that. I don't need to rehash that here. I think you guys are aware of what I mean. But that Miley Cyrus album, where she actually really tried to produce a rock album and she wanted a sound and she was reaching, and it became a number one album. And it came at that inflection point where pop music, her album, was also like 80s rock inspired. Thank you, sis. I know who you are. Thank you for coming. The inflection point happened, and so what we saw was this change in this attitude, even in the music press towards rock music. And we saw movies like Bohemian Rhapsody come out that did very well, that really celebrated one of the best rock bands in the history of the game, Queen. And we're just starting to see that snowball effect, and the young people who, and not so young, in their mid to late teens, who took on the guitar, who've taken on that kind of music, we're starting to see the fruits of that slowly starting to trickle out. And that's fantastic. The Red Hot Chili Peppers just today, and again in line with that, the Red Hot Chili Peppers today just released a new album as well. And so we're starting to see this commercial viability of rock music starting to occur again, and I couldn't be happier about it. Because, again, and there's people out there in the audience that know this. When I was growing up, the landscape for radio was very diverse. I can't even begin to describe to you how wonderful it was to listen to radio in the 70s and through the early 80s, because there was such a diversity of music. You heard everything. By the way, guys, it is super hot in Amsterdam. Even though it's past 11 right now, it's about, feels like in this room, it feels like it's about 22 or 23. So I'm going to be drinking a lot and sweating a lot too. But the diversity of music that I was exposed to made me become the record producer that I am. It made it so that when I sat down and started writing my own songs, I was drawing from a lot of different genres and a lot of different types of bands and acts and solo artists. Just a huge library of sound that I grew up with, that unfortunately I saw take a hard turn in the 90s, especially when you started getting satellite radio. Satellite radio really was a death knell on that independent format of music production. If you were part of a satellite radio conglomerate, you had the total line, and you no longer had somebody doing the programming at the station. It was done at the main office, and you were just basically playing what they told you to play. And with the issues with payola that come out of that still exist, you start to see the slant moving away towards a diversity in music and the advent of hip hop, I suppose, in a commercial sense. Certainly not the type of hip hop that I grew up listening to, but that made that genre take off. for a lot of reasons. So we are now, however, reached a saturation point, I think, with that genre. I think everything has its ebb and flows, its peaks and its valley, and the history of hip hop and that music has its trajectory has pretty much been like this since the late 70s. Now we're finally starting to see a drop off, not a huge one, however, enough to give rock an opportunity for people to say, hey, especially young people. You just mentioned, Doc, that Tom Petty's album is doing quite well, and that's absolutely true. And who is it that's listening to that? It's young people. It's young people. There's a lot of young people out there who are searching and starting to listen. They listen to an album like Led Zeppelin 1, and it's a revelation to them. They've never heard it before. Those are the videos that kill me the most, guys, are the reaction videos on YouTube where you have somebody saying, "Oh, I'm listening to Black Sabbath's album for the first time." And I'm like, holy crap, how old am I? That's something that young people are doing reaction videos to. But it's good though, because what it's doing is, oh, it's hot. What it's doing is it's really getting young people to take an interest in, dinosaur rock. It's getting them to take an interest in what they may have passed on. Even 5 years ago, 10 years ago. So that's great. So that's my first topic of discussion tonight, is basically talking about how we've seen rock music really take a positive tear. I myself am slowly starting to build back my rock album collection roughly. And I didn't. I had albums and I had CDs, and cassettes, and I have lost it all. One of the things about moving around this planet is you tend to shed a lot of stuff. But the albums that I love those reaction videos as well. I'm not older than having revelations in person. Yeah, yeah. I like those videos for, like I said, the reaction videos are good because I like the folks that are doing the reaction. They're young, and so that's a positive thing. That means that there's going to be more youth who are going to be interested and keep that genre going. Uh, but yeah, I'm trying to get my old record collection, or at least a lot of the stuff that I listened to when I was younger. That is one of my goals, is to get back into actually having a real record collection. I envy my brother. I've told you about how I think that guy still has the first nickel he made. I admire the fact that he's put a lot of his stuff away and he always had a great record collection. It was my brother's record collection, especially, like I said, listening to those Oingo Boingo albums and some of the other, The Fix just came out. Matter of fact, The Fix just came out with a new album too. Wow, dig that. A lot of those albums that my brother listened to, he still has them. So one of these days, I might, as a project, if we ever can, I might try to copy those because I would love to have those and listen to those again. I'm glad that he's kept them, and that is a possibility. But it really goes back to quality, guys. I guess is what the long. I always have a long way of getting to a point. And this is not to put rap music down. This is not to put modern country music down. Although both of them have suffered from a creative malaise, I guess is the best word, the most polite way of putting it. They both aren't what they used to be. When an old Dolly Parton song, still outselling the latest thing from, whoever the latest hot thing in country music is, you got a problem. because people are seeking quality over quantity. The quantity issue was always there with streaming. You had at your your fingers, uh, a plethora of music choices, and for $7.99 or six, whatever it is per month on Spotify, you really expanded that out, not just to the commercial releases, but private releases from independent artists. Just a huge mess. And so when you have that, your attention span is very short. So to get the attention of people's ears because of that juggernaut, that onslaught of choices, uh, people were just throwing everything, and it got to the point where it wasn't the music that was. And there was a little bit of this back in the MTV era, but I see its ugly head raising again, where the promotional aspect is more important than the actual music itself. And I think that when we got to that level, I think that when we got to that recognizable level where everybody could kind of stand back and say, "Hey, song is was hyped to heck." I turned on my radio and every channel I turned to, it was there. But I really didn't like it. I hated it, but I eventually ended up liking it because they rammed it through my skull 24/7. And I think people are just getting to the point where they recognize the TikTok shenanigans and all that as being BS. And so they're reaching for the quality, and they're forsaking the quantity. We're seeing that in a lot of genres. In the comic book sphere, there was a comic book produced by a YouTuber, an independent production that he put together, a comic, guys like Superman, Batman type thing. He did a Kickstarter on it, ended up making $3 million in pre-orders. And so much so that the mainstream media had to go knocking on his door and start asking questions. And one of the things that came out of that was that people were rejecting the mainstream comic DC line, and they were more interested in what this guy was doing because they wanted the quality over the quantity. And the quantity has strings attached to it. It's got messages, it's got a whole lot of stuff to it that people just are turned off by. So I'm encouraged, guys. I'm encouraged that people are finally starting to vote with their wallets and their feet on a lot of stuff in their ears, and are turning towards quality. Because when we have a market where you have to put forth creative excellence, then you truly have a truly creative environment, because the competition, uh, you know, hold my beer kind of thing. You know what I mean? Between musicians and producers and writers, when you really have excellence as your pinnacle, and not some A&R guy saying, "Hey, make this viral on TikTok first before we think about putting it out." And as I've mentioned before, that's a true story. You really are in an environment where you really want to give it your all and to really put on your best foot and put it forward. So I am encouraged by that. I'm encouraged by the fact that rock music is starting to take off again. Of course, for my own selfish reasons, because I produced a rock record recently of my own, so I'm happy about that. But no, just in general, guys, I'm encouraged by the way things are turning in the music. Everybody wants to be negative and say, "Oh, the music business is getting so bad, and everything sucks, and there is nothing good anymore." But I think that we've kind of hit a wall. I really do believe that consumers have gotten to the point where they're starting to say, "Hey, we'd like a little bit more quality." And these are the guys who have the money. Again, the outcry from the mainstream comic book community when this independent person did so well is the same kind of outcry that I would love to hear from the mainstream music companies. Thank you. I'd like to hear that. I'd like for them to be so shocked that independent artists are doing that kind of level of sales in the music. I would love to see that happen, and I do believe that that can happen as long as we as an audience demand quality over quantity and we expect excellence out of the artist that we support, regardless of whatever the medium is. Movies as well. I'm sure that there are independent filmmakers out there who are also starting to get more recognition. Is that even a word? Get recognized? Excuse me, guys. It's late. Get the recognition. Let's not even use that word. They're not getting the props that they deserve. Let's keep the words real simple at this time of night. Yeah, I think that in all of these different mediums, we are going to see a turn, and it is a long waited turn. Oh, I find it. Oh, thank you so much. Let me, guys, let me read that one if I can. I found the older I get, the less I listen to new music. Perhaps the lack of guitar, and I got a super chat at $5. Thank you so much. Yeah, uh, you need a words as hard stringer. Yeah, thanks. Well, yeah, I don't want to. As a record producer, it's very difficult to say I don't want to listen to what's going on, especially when it comes to producing music for television commercials, because the clients they really you know they don't know shit from Shinola. Seriously, if you guys know that old term, and they will send me a brief, which is usually a clip of music, and it's going to be mainstream as hell. It's going to be whatever the fad is, whatever the current thing is, and it's going to sound like that. And essentially, I have to replicate it in a way that it's not that, but it's in that genre. It's recognizable as being that. So I had no choice. I had to listen to the trends, whether I wanted to or not. They were being given to me, and I had to sit back and say, well, how are they putting this together? What are they doing here? And I enjoyed that to a certain extent, but but once the job was done, I never went back to it. I never listened to it again, and yeah, just never really took to it. I always separated that in my mind from what I wanted to do, and from so I had to have that kind of dichotomy going there. But really, I didn't have that option, so I've had to listen to it. And God, you're so lucky, sir, that you don't have to. You have spared your eardrums. I'm gonna need that $5 tip just for the earwax that melted from listening to that stuff to be replaced. God awful stuff. God awful stuff. I'm not even gonna lie. A lot of guys won't go on and say that it's god awful, but I'm not afraid to say it's a lot of it's god awful. I mean, my goodness. You're only as intelligent as the level of entertainment that you take in. I'm going to say that one more time. You are only as intelligent as the level of entertainment that you take in. What do I mean by that? I mean that if you take a steady diet of Twinkies into your body, eventually your body is going to shut down, and it is not going to function properly. If you take in a steady diet of crap music, and even negative music, even that, we're not even gonna really get into that, but that's a part of it. You take the diet of that stuff in, and it will lower your IQ. I absolutely believe. I'll give you an example. Um, uh, when I was a kid, there was an old movie on in Los Angeles on Channel 5 on Sundays. They would show old movies. And there was an old movie from the 40s or 40s called The Song Remains the Same, starring an old movie actor called Frederick March. And it was the story of the Polish composer Chopin. Okay? Now, I'm a kid. I'm just, 10 years old. But I loved that movie, especially because it talked about how Chopin, the political things that were going on at that time, but also how he wrote the Polonaise. Da 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 da. You guys know Polonaise. If you don't, look it up. Uh, but as a kid, I was fascinated with that music and that level. But but the point of this was that was a movie in the 40s that people went to the movie theaters to go see. That was the level of entertainment that people during that period of time were watching. They were watching cultural movies, or it was taking a boring subject of an 18th century Polish composer and putting it into some kind of context that a 1940s 1950s audience could take in, and it was high art even at that point. All right, now I you know I doubt that movie would even play at the local Artplex. It just wouldn't have. And again, that level of highbrow, the 7 Year Itch with Marilyn Monroe. She sits there and she plays. What was it? She was playing classical music. I forget who, but even in that context, in the 50s, there again, we see classical music being considered to be an elevated art that the mainstream public took in and discussed and listened to. I don't think we're seeing that kind of dialogue occurring like it did during that time. You're only as intelligent as the entertainment you take in. And Rachmaninoff, thank you, Doc. I knew you would remember Rachmaninoff. And but think about that. This was a mainstream secretary girl, and she dug Rachmaninoff. She was in this movie. She was a 22, 23-year-old girl, lived upstairs from this married guy. If you guys haven't seen the 7 Year Itch, you really got to watch that movie. It's one of my favorites. But again, that was considered to be mainstream to listen to that level of music. So again, guys, just something to think about. The quality is starting to come back. I think people are getting sick of the quantity, and that's a good thing. That's something that encourages me. All right. Well, I'm not even going to lie to you. We've gotten almost to 40 minutes here, and I'm going to call it quits because, quite frankly, it is hot as sin in this room. And if I open this door to the studio, in about 20 seconds, about 15,000 cats, no, my 3 cats are going to come running in and knock everything over. So, but I'm going to have to open it because I am burning up. So I'm going to call it short this week. I want to thank you for the super chat. I appreciate that. I want to thank you guys for coming and taking the next, let's see, we did 38 minutes. Hey, bye, sis. Thanks for coming along. Yeah, everybody, that's my sis. That's right. So show some respect when you see her on the screen. You guys, I want to thank you for taking the last 40 minutes to watch. Remember this week, we are going to have, hey Ben, you take care. Remember this week, we will have a regular program and it'll probably post. I'm thinking Thursday, so keep an eye out for that. Certainly between now and then, I'll be doing some shorts. And just have a good week. You guys just hang in there. Hey guys, thanks everybody. You guys just hang in there this week. Just keep healthy, keep safe, and I will see you again until the next one. Bye bye.